Power is everywhere. It decides who gets listened to, who gets ignored, who rises, and who is forgotten. And yet most people stumble through social interactions blind to the laws that govern them. But what if you could walk into any room, any negotiation, any date, any conversation, and instantly shift the balance in your favor? What if you could read the hidden mechanics of influence the way Machiavelli himself would have taught you? In this video, I'm going to reveal 7 laws of power dynamics in social interactions, principles drawn from Machiavelli's ruthless wisdom in The Prince, sharpened for the modern world. These are not theories. They are weapons. You'll learn how to dominate perception before you even speak, how to make yourself rare and needed, how to control the frame of every conversation, how to command with silence, how to track and leverage debts, how to rise by association, and how to rule the most dangerous battlefield of all, your emotions. By the end of this, you won't just understand social power. You'll know how to wield it, because in every interaction, someone wears the crown. And if you master these 7 laws, that someone will be you. Dominate the stage before you even speak. Power does not wait for introductions. It does not wait for your resume. It does not wait for your carefully rehearsed speech. Power judges you in silence, within seconds of your arrival. The instant you step into a room, the crown is either offered or snatched away. 3 seconds, that is all you get. 3 seconds where posture is weighed, eyes are measured, presence is scanned. And the truth is brutal. People decide who you are before you have spoken a single word. But most people, they enter like prey. Their shoulders curve inward, their eyes flicker with uncertainty, their smiles are masks of need. They reek of desperation, begging silently to be noticed. They believe, foolishly, that if they just work hard and be themselves, others will patiently uncover their greatness. Machiavelli would laugh at such naivety. He would call it the weakness of sheep, because here is his truth. Reality does not matter. Appearance does. It is not necessary to have all the good qualities, Machiavelli wrote, but it is necessary to appear to have them. A prince did not need virtue, only the armor of virtue. He did not need courage, only the mask of courage. He did not need justice, only the performance of justice. The crowd bows not to what you are. They bow to what they perceive. And this same law rules today. In the boardroom, in politics, on the stage, on the first date, even across the glowing battlefield of social media. It is not truth that shapes outcomes. It is projection. The one who appears unshakable commands respect. The one who radiates certainty is crowned leader. And the masses will always trust their eyes over their ears. This is why kings and conquerors mastered theater as much as strategy. Why rulers built palaces taller than their armies. Why emperors wore crowns heavier than their swords. They understood image conquers truth. So, how do you weaponize this law for yourself? Enter with command. Walk as though the ground itself bends beneath your stride. Let your body speak sovereignty before your tongue does. Seized with eyes, hold your gaze with calm intensity. Do not dart, do not flinch. Make others look away first, for in that moment, they yield. Speak with silence. Do not rush. Let pauses weigh heavier than words. Allow anticipation to sharpen your sentences like steel. Bleed no need. Never drip with desperation. Never beg for validation. For once you smell of hunger, you are no longer king. You are the starving dog outside the gate. Now ask yourself, when you last entered a room, were you the master or the beggar? Did your presence demand attention? Or did you vanish into the wallpaper of the forgettable? Because power is merciless. It does not wait. It does not forgive. The crown is seized at first glance or lost forever. This is Machiavelli's verdict. Power belongs not to the strong, but to the one who appears untouchable. That is the first law of power dynamics, the law of perception. Appear stronger than you are.
Hey guys, we're Strategy, based in Abu Dhabi. We use AI tools to make these concepts come to life, but it's our amazing team who goes deep, breaking down powerful philosophical ideas and showing how they really apply in everyday life. We hope you enjoyed today's content.
Withdraw to increase your worth. Why are diamonds worshipped while water is ignored? Not because diamonds sustain life, but because they are rare. What is common is consumed without thought. What is scarce is chased, guarded, paid for with blood and gold. The same law rules human dealings. Access sets the price. Availability sets the value. If anyone can have you, no one needs you. And here is where the herd fails. They flood the market with themselves. They answer instantly. They volunteer endlessly. They show up at the snap of a finger, like dogs salivating at the bell. They call it kindness, but it reeks of desperation, and desperation is the perfume of the weak. Excess breeds contempt, always. Ask yourself, how many times have you replied in seconds, only to be ignored for days? How many times have you bent your life into knots, just to be discarded for the one who gave them nothing at all? This is not tragedy. This is law. The world only values what it must fight to earn. Machiavelli would sneer at such weakness. He admired Cesare Borgia not for generosity, but for refusal. Betrayed once, Borgia vowed, never again depend on another man's armies or his permission. Cut the strings, starve the dependency, then rule. Your armies today are not soldiers. They are your time, your attention, your approval, your presence. If you hand them out like pamphlets, you will be treated like a pamphlet. If you ration them like gold, men will crawl with tribute for a glimpse. But what do? You cancel your priorities. You over-explain. You chase. You imagine this makes you indispensable. It makes you replaceable. You are not a prize. You are a coupon. Predictable, forgettable, pathetic. Machiavelli would whisper, stop begging to be chosen. Make them audition. Value is engineered. Scarcity is manufactured. Do not wait for the world to respect your worth. Force it to reckon with your absence. Withhold presence. Arrive later than they want. Leave earlier than they expect. Control access. Gut every interaction. Speak in headlines, not essays. Praise rarely, only when it deepens loyalty. Create waiting. The queue is the altar where value is worshipped. If Machiavelli walked among us today, he would not build a crowd. He would build a court. His world would be tiered. The inner circle, few, vetted, rapid access, because they amplify his power. The outer circle, many, tested, kept at distance, forced to earn their proximity. And the petitioners, the masses, they would receive silence, polite distance, or templated replies. Entry would require tribute. He would use delayed response as theater. Hours mean, I am busy. Days mean, I am costly. Silence means, you are not in my kingdom. He would control the setting, always his time, his ground, his length. He would engineer departures, leaving at the height of attention, so demand festers in the void. He would ration presence, stage scarcity, and weaponize absence. Your discipline becomes their addiction. You resist the urge to reply instantly, and they hunger. You deny the reflex to overgive, and they chase. You tolerate being misunderstood, and they scramble to interpret you. Their effort becomes investment. Their investment becomes allegiance. Control yourself, and they are forced to adjust to your rhythm. Control your rhythm, and you control the room. Control the room, and you control the outcome. Every word you speak must imply gates. My calendar is tight. Send 3 options next week. I reserve mornings for strategy. Afternoons are possible. Let's keep this to 20 minutes. I'll review and circle back when I can. Before we meet, outline your goals and constraints. Each phrase denies urgency. Each line trains respect. Do not overcorrect with arrogance. Scarcity is not cruelty. It is theater. But do not bluff. Limits must be real. Do not leak. Scarcity in public, weakness in private. Screenshots travel, and do not flood in return. After withholding, never drown them with overcompensation. Keep the cadence, always. Scarcity turns attention into pursuit. Pursuit turns into negotiation. Negotiation becomes tribute. Tribute becomes loyalty. Loyalty becomes control. This is how kings are crowned without armies. And Machiavelli would conclude, if you wish to be necessary, first become difficult to reach. The road to you must feel like progress. So I ask you, are you the prize or the pursuer? Do they ache at your absence or assume your presence? The common is ignored. The rare is worshipped. The rationed is obeyed. That is the second law of social power, the law of scarcity. Make yourself needed, never available. Control the frame. Control the game. Every battle, every negotiation, every conversation, whether you realize it or not, already has a winner before the first word is spoken. Why? Because the outcome belongs to the one who sets the frame. Whoever defines the rules dictates the result. But here's where most people fail. You walk into conversations reacting to their terms, answering their questions, following their agenda. Without realizing it, you've stepped into someone else's kingdom. And in their kingdom, you are not the ruler. You are the guest. Guests don't win. Be honest. How many times have you left a meeting, a debate, or even a personal conversation, feeling like you played by someone else's rules? That you were defending instead of directing, reacting instead of ruling? Machiavelli understood this truth through Cesare Borgia's brilliance. After unifying Romagna with ruthless cruelty, Borgia staged a public execution of his own brutal minister. Overnight, the people saw him not as a tyrant, but as merciful. He didn't change his nature. He reframed it. He seized the narrative. By controlling the spectacle, he transformed perception. And this principle is alive today. Framing is power. In business, the one who defines the problem dictates the solution. In politics, the one who names the enemy controls the war. Even in relationships, the one who decides what this really means writes the ending of the story. The one who controls the context controls the fate. So how do you seize the frame in your own interactions? Start every conversation with your narrative. Define reality before anyone else does. If the discussion slips from your terms, redirect it, create a new premise, force a new perspective, and never, under any circumstance, answer purely on someone else's terms. Reset the question, reset the game, pause and reflect. Are you the one framing the story of your life, or are you living inside someone else's script? Remember this law. He who controls the frame controls the fate. And that is the third law of power dynamics in social interactions, the law of framing. Set the context, control the outcome. Shut your mouth. Let silence rule. In every interaction, words flow like currency. But here's the paradox. The one who spends the least has the most. The one who speaks least holds the greatest power. Silence unsettles. It forces confessions. It creates an aura of dominance that words can never buy. Yet this is where you fail. You talk too much. You explain yourself when you don't need to. You fill the air with chatter, thinking it makes you persuasive, thinking it makes you liked. But all it does is weaken you. Every unnecessary word is a leak in your armor. Every over-explanation hands away your advantage. Silence could have made you dangerous, but your endless words make you predictable. Ask yourself, how often do you reveal too much in conversations? How many times have you left a meeting or an argument realizing you gave away your strategy, your feelings, or your weakness without even being asked? Machiavelli praised silence as a weapon. He admired Cesare Borgia's uncanny ability to conceal his intentions. Borgia deceived even seasoned rivals like the Orsini by saying little, by revealing nothing until it was too late. They thought him friendly, they thought him harmless, and then he destroyed them. It wasn't his sword that struck first. It was his silence. And in our world today, the same law rules. In negotiations, the one who speaks less controls more. In politics, the one who reveals the least appears the strongest. Even in everyday life, mystery bends others to your will. When you stay quiet, people rush to fill the silence. And in their rush, they expose their insecurities, their needs, their secrets. So how do you command silence like a Machiavellian? First, pause before every answer. Make them wait. That pause unsettles more than a paragraph ever could. Second, withhold explanations. Don't justify yourself. Don't overshare. Let curiosity fester. Let them wonder. And third, use silence as pressure. Hold it long enough, and they will confess just to escape the discomfort. Now think back. Do you command silence, or do you fear it? Do you use silence as a blade, or do you try to drown it with chatter? Remember this law. The fewer your words, the greater their weight. And that is the fourth law of power dynamics in social interactions. The law of silence. Speak less, command more. Keep the ledger, rule with the ledger. Every empire, every dynasty, every kingdom is built not just on armies, but on records, on debts, on credits, on ledgers of power. The same is true in human interactions. Power compounds when you master debts, when you know exactly who owes what, and when to collect. But this is where most people throw away their crown. You forget favors. You forgive insults too quickly. You repay kindness instantly, leaving no debt behind. You erase leverage before it can serve you. In your eagerness to be liked, you discard the balance sheet of human obligation. And without that balance sheet, you discard power itself. Now be honest with yourself. How many times have you helped someone only to watch them forget it? How many times have you suffered an insult only to let it slide without consequence? How many times have you cleared a debt so fast that the other person felt no weight of gratitude, only entitlement? Machiavelli understood the ledger of power. He warned that cruelty must be swift, but favors must be slow. So they are, as he said, properly savored. To forget an injury is weakness. To repay too quickly is to waste a weapon. Because every favor is a chain, and every insult is an opening for revenge. The ruler who forgets either is no ruler at all. And today, nothing has changed. Social power runs on memory. Those who track debts, who know who owes them, who betrayed them, who still lingers under their shadow, can manipulate relationships for years. It's not about vengeance. It's about leverage. So how do you rule with the ledger? You record every favor you give and every insult you endure. You repay loyalty instantly, so that devotion deepens. But you repay leverage slowly, so that gratitude festers and dependence grows. You let people wonder, do they owe you or do you owe them? That uncertainty keeps them tethered. That doubt keeps them obedient. Now ask yourself, do you control the ledger of your life, or do you leave it blank, allowing others to write it for you? Remember this law. The one who controls the ledger controls the loyalty. And that is the fifth law of power dynamics in social interactions. The law of reciprocity and memory. Track, repay, leverage. Stand beside power and you borrow its crown. Status is contagious. It spreads like fire. The strong lift you up by their shadow. The weak drag you down by their weight. In the game of power, proximity is destiny. Yet here is your mistake. You keep the wrong company. Fools, failures, the bitter and the envious. Their weakness clings to you like a disease. And when the powerful look your way, they do not see you. They see the company you keep. They judge not your strength, but the weakness you stand beside. Think about it. How many times have you been overlooked, dismissed, underestimated, not because of who you are, but because of who you were standing next to? Machiavelli warned rulers to never stand neutral. He wrote, "A ruler will be respected when he is a genuine friend or a genuine enemy." Neutrality breeds contempt, but association with strength breeds respect. Align yourself with power, and even before you act, you are already elevated. And today, nothing has changed. In modern hierarchies, proximity is branding. Who introduces you? Who speaks your name? Who stands beside you in the photograph? These shape your status more than your merit ever could. The halo of power falls on those who stand closest to the source. So how do you wield this law? First, place yourself near power. On the stage, at the table, in the photo. Presence is perception. Second, cut ties with the weak, the scandalous, the irrelevant. Their shadows will stain you. Third, engineer introductions and alliances that elevate you. Who you are is less important than who people see you beside. Now ask yourself, are you standing beside greatness, or are you buried in the crowd of the small? Remember this law, stand beside the great, or be buried with the small. And that is the sixth law of power dynamics in social interactions. The law of association, status by proximity. Master your fire, or be burned by theirs. In every social interaction, emotions are the hidden weapons. Rage, fear, desire, joy. Most people let these forces whip them around like leaves in a storm. But the ruler who cannot govern his own emotions will always be governed by others. Power belongs to the one who cannot be provoked. This is where you lose control. You erupt in anger when challenged. You sulk in silence when ignored. You bleed desperation when you want attention. Every reaction becomes a leash for others to pull. They don't need strength to dominate you. They only need to poke your emotions and watch you crumble. Now think, how many times have you been manipulated, not by logic, not by reason, but by your own temper, your own fear, your own hunger for validation? Machiavelli saw this clearly. He wrote that fortune favors the adaptable, the ruler who bends his temperament to the times. To be rigid, to let passion dictate your choices, is to collapse with circumstances. The man who cannot govern himself will be destroyed by the tides of fate. And today, emotional control is not just a virtue. It's psychological warfare. The calm man unsettles the furious. The unmoved man enslaves the reactive. In a world of overreaction, silence and composure are nuclear weapons. So how do you weaponize emotional control? First, delay your response. Let emotions pass before you answer, and you will answer with power instead of weakness. Second, treat your emotions as tools, not as masters. Anger, joy, fear, deploy them strategically, but never suffer them passively. And third, learn to draw out the emotions of others. Let them overreact. Let them expose themselves. then weaponize their fire against them. Now reflect. Do you rule your emotions, or do your emotions rule you? Are you the calm strategist, or the puppet dancing on invisible strings? Remember this law. The one who rules himself rules all. And that is the seventh law of power dynamics in social interactions. The law of emotional control. Rule yourself, rule them.
Thanks for spending time with us. If this sparked a new way of thinking, hit like and subscribe to keep the ideas flowing. And don't forget, check the description for the links to the original books and resources we used today. We'll see you in the next one.